is up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Somewhat Sports Podcast. My name is Chris, and I'm joined by two of the greats in this industry, never forgotten, never will be. Jurg and Dame, how are we, fellas?
We are doing real good. At least I'm doing really good here, Chris. Our fearless leader is back. The ship continues to stay on course. I like to think me and Dame did a decent job last week, and now you're back. The boys are back, and we're here for another episode. First episode of all three of us being on since since I relocated. So fun times, fun times.
Last week's episode was fantastic. I don't know what it was, but it just was. Same old shit with me. Nothing new.
Yeah,
Let's move on.
yeah. Last week, Jurg was fantastic in that solo episode. I don't know why it was just him last week, but I guess we move, right? Anyway, so yeah, in my absence, it was a full-out baseball episode. You guys did a phenomenal job of that, talking about the off-season moves. Dame, before we get started, everything go with your Yankees? How you feeling about that, buddy?
To be determined.
Okay, all right. That's actually better than what I expected. But anyway, yeah, so pretty stacked week. I don't know. Maybe it's... I always say it's stacked, and then we just kind of like go off the dome. But our boy Jurg has NHL news. That's right. That's how you guys know we're back in the swing of things. Jurg has NHL news. And look, it's Christmas season, fellas. It's the holidays. They're coming up. So, people always want a lot of gifts. We have a lot of news. So Jurg with the NHL news. I guess there was some NBA news. If anything, that'll be like a free-for-all discussion. And then I guess we'll talk some NFL, right? Does that sound good, boys? Does that sound stupendous to you?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Okay, Jurg, since you always start things beautifully, we're gonna continue with that. So, Jurg, you said you have some NHL news to talk about. Talk to us, buddy. What do you got?
Yes. So the news that I have is intriguing, to say the least. There were several changes in front offices for NHL teams during the regular season. This never happens. At least several in one season, several in the beginning portions of a season as well. Within recent weeks, both the Montreal Canadiens and the Vancouver Canucks fired their respective general managers of their organizations. And Vancouver as well also ended up firing their now, well, technically speaking, former head coach for their team. Marc Bergevin of Montreal and Jim Benning of Vancouver, both out of jobs. And both teams have been going through rigorous general manager searches to try to figure things out. One of them has already gotten it, actually, but we'll get to that in a moment. As to the reasons why, because of course all these things happen for a reason. So with Montreal, it's just as simple as Montreal is one of the worst teams in the league this season. As of right now, they are 6-18-3, just 15 points in the standings. They're tied for the worst record in the league. Right? Actually, no, excuse me. They are tied for second worst record in the league. So just a little bit of luster there. Although technically they're only better than the Arizona Coyotes. Not a high bar to clear at all. Like, yeah, it's just, you could tiptoe over that bar. That's how little effort you need to do in getting over it. But Montreal fired Bergevin after the tough start, and it's just been a season in shambles for the team. Like, just guys are not performing. Feels like no one's having a good season on that club. Carey Price, of course, has not played the entire year due to mental health reasons, I believe it was, and he's trying to take care of everything there. When Shea Weber walked away, he's essentially going to retire, I think, all things considered. When you miss two key pieces of that team's identity from last year, of course, they were going to struggle. But from Stanley Cup finalists last year to outright, they're going to miss the playoffs this year. It's not even close. Very jarring. And I think the tumultuous offseason they had with not really much going on, losing a couple pieces to last year's Cup finalist team, and ultimately this poor start axed Marc Bergevin. I think it was a guarantee. Also, like looking back, some of the press conferences he gave in the offseason, kind of like it felt like his future was up in the air. I think he was more so doing that to try to get leverage in contract negotiations. But of course, with how bad things went, Montreal was not going to go any further with him, so they have fired him. I don't think they've named an interim GM. I could be wrong, but at least to my knowledge, there's no real interim general manager. They're just going through the motions right now, waiting to hire their guy. By the way, the stupidest tradition, quote unquote, in all of hockey, Montreal requires their general manager has to speak French. It's the dumbest thing in the world. I don't know why. I mean, I know why they limit themselves, but it's to me, it's just really idiotic and stupid. So Montreal, they're going to hire their specific general manager candidate that they want. I don't really have any candidates for that job in particular. I have a couple for the Vancouver job because Vancouver doesn't limit itself to people from a specific that speak specific languages. So, good on you, Vancouver. All inclusive. But in all seriousness, when it comes to that, Montreal, you know, such a rough season. I think they're just going to go through things. They could sell off a couple pieces come the deadline, but I think that team is just going to ride the wave of being just a terrible organization at this juncture of time at the end of the day. And yeah, that's at least for Montreal. For Vancouver, a little more light being shed on them. So they fired their head coach, they fired their general manager, slash president of hockey operations, and already they filled those positions. They hired Bruce Boudreau recently to be the new head coach of the Vancouver Canucks, and they hired as we like to call him, GMJR, Jim Rutherford, to be their president of hockey operations. To be the new president of hockey operations and temporary general manager. He has the tag just as an interim until they name a new GM, and they're going to be conducting a thorough search in terms of that. I really, really hope that by the time this episode is out, that they don't hire the new GM. But my luck usually with this stuff, they're going to hire the GM, and everything is just pointless as to what I'm talking about. But for Vancouver, it makes sense, as I kind of talked about, way back before the season. The Pacific Division was wide open going into this year, boys, and Vancouver has underperformed badly again. They should have been a playoff team last year, all things considered. They should at least be in proper contention this year, and they're just not. And at the end of the day, you cannot accept that if you're the Vancouver Canucks. And they finally made the decision to fire Jim Benning. Oh, Jim Benning. How do I even describe this? I will leave this to you, boys, and this is well known in the hockey world. It is said that on July 1st, from July 1st to July 4th every year in free agency, the best thing the Vancouver Canucks could have done every year was hide Jim Benning's phone from him, because that dude is going to pick up the phone, make phone calls, and hand out terrible, terrible contracts to players. He's done that a number of times. He's made a number of terrible trades. And at the end of the day, it's all finally come back. A dude that had his job way longer than he should have. Like, I think he had his job for over a decade, if I'm not mistaken. Should have had it for way less time, and he finally got fired. And, of course, like I said, Jim Rutherford, most recently for his tenure of being the Pittsburgh Penguins guy, leading them, building the roster to back-to-back Stanley Cup appearances. The Vancouver Canucks organization now has a experienced GM. Interim GM, I should say. He's the president of hockey operations. I actually do like JR being the guy there. I think he's going to be the how should I put this? He's the right guiding hand for this Vancouver team right now as they try to get everything together for the rest of the season. And I think he'll be the right president of ops for when they eventually hire whoever their GM is going to be. And I think Bruce Boudreau, I'm not a fan. I think he's just like a retread hire, and I'm not really a big fan of those ever. But you could have done worse, and I think maybe he could get something out of these young guys. So we'll see on that. I won't grade it early. I will be fair to Vancouver, because maybe Boudreau can do something, because he's usually good at first in his tenures, and then things go south. So there's that. In terms of potential general manager candidates, I'm not saying this based off of who they've interviewed or links. I'm just saying from names that I know that I think could be potential candidates for the general manager job. Excuse me. I think in some of these, they're more, up and comers, a couple of these names, but I think they would be interesting. I think Mathieu Darche from the Tampa Bay Lightning would be great. He's the director of hockey operations. The guy has been in Tampa Bay for years. And I think, he's helped play an important role in building a team that's won back-to-back Stanley Cups. So you get a guy there that knows his stuff, that knows the game, that can help build a roster. I think he would be an amazing guy to work under Jim Rutherford. There you have two guys that were part of back-to-back winning Stanley Cup teams. Oh my God, that'd be amazing. There's Rob DeMaio, who of the St. Louis Blues, who's the director of player personnel. He's also been a guy who a lot of people credit him as being a part of the reason why the Blues have had sustained success recently, especially their Cup win back in 2019. They believe that he was a key voice in a lot of the Blues moves that got them their depth pieces that ended up winning the Cup. So I think he could be a guy there. And then there's a couple younger guys. I think Ryan Hardy is a very popular candidate. He's that young guy who maybe he could make a name for himself, all things considered. for the role. He's 36 years old, if I'm not mistaken, general manager in the United States Hockey League, and who knows, maybe he could get a shout. But Vancouver could also just stay in-house, and this is the last guy I'll say is Ryan Johnson of the Utica Comets, and he is actually the Canucks Senior Director of Player Development. So maybe give the guy a promotion. Guy's worked hard. He deserves it. But yeah, I think those would be like names that I would look at for the general manager position for Vancouver. And yeah, but I think between the two, I have more faith in Vancouver to be able to have an in-season turnaround because I think there's talent there at least. And I think going forward, there's a chance for Vancouver to get a couple things right if they fix some things up. Montreal just it's a shit show. I'm not even gonna gloss over it, boys. It's just not looking good for Las Canadiens de Montréal. So that is the update on general manager talk. Could another team fire general manager here soon? Who knows? Heck, some of the names I said, maybe the Chicago Blackhawks did hire their essentially new guy, even though I think he might be an interim. I think Chicago's just going to stay with the guy that they had after they fired their general manager early in the season. Screw you, Stan Bowman. I hate you. But aside from that, that's about it. That wraps up this hockey talk. Been a while since we had hockey talk, so had to hit it with the main news that's come out recently. But don't worry, very soon, probably next week, I will go into some more in-depth hockey talk because we're a good ways into the season, boys. I think it's time that I talk about some of these teams and if they've met or failed my expectations going into the season. But that's a tease, as we call it in the business, for next week, not this week.
Tease it up, brother. Tease it up. Beautiful as always, Jurg. Hockey's back. Jurg's back. The world's back. No, it's not. All right, let's move on over to some NBA news. Neil O'Shea, who I think was the president or the GM of he's the general manager of the Portland Trail Blazers, got fired for doing sus shit, to put that bluntly. Yeah, so the Blazers are kind of a mess now, guys. I think CJ McCollum has a collapsed lung. Damian Lillard is also hurt, and apparently there's a rift between Chauncey Billups and the players, and it's not working out. I think Damian Lillard is requesting a 2-year, $107 million contract extension. There's a bunch of reports going on. I think Damian Lillard was also kind of denying some of those reports, saying I'll just love drama, all that stuff. But look, it's another year. Look, the Blazers are struggling right now, and there's off-court issues, which means there's Damian Lillard trade rumors. So, fellas, I ask you. I'm not gonna even ask you, but this seems to be a recurring thing. It's just a matter of time. I mean, is it a matter of time? We all believe that Damian Lillard should leave. He should be traded already. He should request a trade. But, there's this, feeling of loyalty that he has towards, the Portland Trail Blazers, even though this whole 2-year, $107 million report got me thinking otherwise. Maybe he just wants to get paid. I don't know. But, the totality of it, we're just like, okay, Lillard should leave. And I feel like with Neil O'Shea leaving, maybe we're getting closer to that. So, just for, shits and giggles, guys, how do you see the Damian Lillard situation playing out? Do you guys see him getting traded? What do you guys foresee happening to our son Damian Lillard? And if you do see him getting traded, where realistically do you see him getting traded to? Dame, let me start off with you since this is your guy.
All right. You finally got one of my guys right, like Cam Newton in the Super Bowl, and I have his shirt supposedly.
Oh my
God. Weird. Anyways, when it comes to Damian Lillard, I've always thought it's just a ticking time bomb, I guess, with when he gets traded. Everything's going towards that. Like, Trailblazers aren't getting better. They're not making any moves to try to build a real contender and try to make him happy. Everything's spiraled downhill. They're under 500. Now CJ McCollum's hurt and Damian Lillard's hurt. And then you hear all these rumors about there being problems inside the locker room with the players, coaches, and staff and stuff. And obviously now the president's gone with those kind of problems. So everything's kind of spiraling downhill right now. And at the end of the day, I think the finish line is Damian Lillard either requesting to get traded or the Blazers being like, I'm not giving you that 2-year, $107 million extension to pay you $55 million when you're 35, 36 years old. It's just not worth it to us. So we're better off just trading you off, shipping you to a contender. Well, I do believe they're gonna work with him and send him to a place where he wants to be at and where he can actually win. I don't think this is gonna be a situation where they kind of just take the absolutely best package available no matter what. I do think they'll work with him because of how loyal he has been. And at the end of the day, it's gonna work out for both of them because the Blazers are stuck in kind of that purgatory state where they're not gonna have a top 5 draft pick to really draft a superstar prospect or anything like that to change the direction of their franchise. They're kind of cap strapped because all the money they have invested in Lillard, Nurkic, CJ, and all these guys, so they can't really go out, and Damian Lillard can't even go out and go recruit a big time free agent because they can't even bring him in like that. The only way they can improve is off trades, and clearly they haven't been doing that. So end of the day, I do think it'll either end up with Lillard just being sick and tired of it and actually requesting a trade. Although I do think he'll kind of do it privately. I don't think he wants to put on a show about it like kind of James Harden did. I think he'll be very respectful about it. I think they'll work together. And then it's the one place I've been saying that he should go and then that this team just matched up perfectly with him is the Philadelphia 76ers. You go to the East, get away from, obviously, not that I'm saying he's running away from like Steph Curry and LeBron and stuff like that, but you get away from those guys. You go to the East. Not saying the East is easy. Obviously, you have the Nets, you have the Bucks, but it's a change of scenery for him. So you go over there, you play with an actual bona fide superstar in Joel Embiid. Obviously, he's had his injury concerns in the past, but maybe bringing a guy like Lillard takes all this pressure off of Joel Embiid and he can actually stay healthy for once. And that 1-2 duo would absolutely be one of the contenders in the East. They'd be right up there with the Nets and Bucks as one of the contenders to come out the East and win it all. So, and obviously the Sixers do have the pieces to entice the Portland Trail Blazers in a rebuild. They have obviously every team besides like the Nets have draft picks. You have Maxey, you have obviously Ben Simmons. So they have the pieces to make it work, and I think at the end of the day, it's the best situation for Damian Lillard to go to.
Jurg?
He's not wrong when it comes to any of that. Yeah, just the culture of Portland has not been good, as we are now hearing in the recent reports coming out about their now former general manager, excuse me. And the reports that Chauncey Billups and them are having issues, which I'm not surprised because I never thought Chauncey was that good of a coach candidate to begin with. So that is the least shocking thing in the world. And now the tragic news for CJ McCollum. Get better, CJ, obviously. Big CJ McCollum show. That's what we are. It's just not good for Portland. It's not good for Dame. And he keeps putting up this facade, man, that's like, oh, the media's tripping and all that. Dame,
So annoying.
stop. We know you want to leave. And I'm not talking about our Dame whenever he's in the same room as Chris. I'm talking about Damian Lillard when it comes to the Portland Trailblazers. We know you want to leave, bro. We know that you're not happy. We know that you want to win. We're not going to torture. We're not going to crucify you if you do it. We want you to. So, yeah, I'm just kind of sick of it. I hope he demands a trade here. Like, the contract is just a faux pas that he's asking for, like the 2-year $100+ million thing. Like, at that point, it's not even about loyalty. It's like I made this joke to my friend. It's like, oh, if you want to keep my loyalty, you got to pay me like royalty. That's what Dame is asking for at that point, because it's like, dude, there's no reason. Like, you could get that money through your sponsorships. You take another deal when your contract is done, like that maybe is less yearly, but still a lot. Like, just my God, with Damian Lillard. Like, I'm kind of getting sick of it. Like, I'm not anti Damian Lillard, but I'm slowly becoming it just because it's like he's really annoying when it comes to this stuff. A team that I think could fit him. I'm with Dame. I do think Philly is the best fit for him because I think him and
it's
Joel
the most
Embiid,
obvious fit.
Yeah. But if I had to try to be unique and think of another team, just because they made the surprise deal once before for a superstar, now obviously this one would not get him a championship like it did last time, but I think Damian Lillard in Toronto would be highly entertaining. I think that would have a shot at being something intriguing. If the Raptors could work out a deal, the Raptors never make too many big moves, so they have plenty of draft capital. You could send a couple of pieces over, but you could still keep at least, like, Scotty Barnes has been amazing to this point, the youngster. I think you could maybe keep OG Anunoby on if a Dame Lillard deal happened. Like, I think you have Dame just surrounded by defensive players and slashers and let him be a perimeter beast. Like, I think Toronto could be entertaining, but I'm not saying that to be realistic. I'm just saying that as like an option at this point. Like, I want to see him gone from Portland, bro. So it's like, if I have to send him north of the border, so be it. But yeah, no, it's like, we're done with the song and dance, Dame. And I know you sing good because you're a rapper and you're actually talented as a rapper, but like, no, we're done with this. Like, please, please just go to a new team already. My God.
Yeah. I mean, but I'm kind of with our Dame on this one, Jurg, where I feel like they're probably going to trade him to somewhere where he wants to be at. I don't think he wants to go to Toronto because I feel like the Raptors aren't a bad team, but they're also like, their record says otherwise right now. So they're like a hybrid. They're kind of rebuilding, and they're also kind of not, because they do have talented pieces on their roster. I'm trying to think here. I feel like if you trade him to Philly, you're gonna have to get back Ben Simmons and I guess Tyrese Maxey. They'll just say that for like a mock trade. I mean, you get yeah, those are two very good young pieces, but again, you don't know what you're getting with Ben Simmons because God knows how that situation's gonna unfold. I feel like I wouldn't want this to happen because they're a division rival, but him in Boston would be pretty good. And I'm saying that because I feel like Jaylen Brown is a legitimate main core trade piece to have. I mean, to offer if you're the Celtics. And I think if you're the Blazers, Jaylen Brown's actually like a really good person to build around too. Even if he's like a complimentary player just for now until you find the guy, I do think going forward and if you're kind of rebuilding, he's a solid person to have on your team, man. And again, this might lead to CJ McCollum getting traded, but if that is the case, if there's a domino effect in which CJ McCollum gets traded after Damian Lillard, you're gonna get another. I think you're gonna get a solid, package for him. So you're looking at a bunch of picks, Jaylen Brown, and whoever the blue chip player is you're getting in the CJ McCollum deal. And I'm pretty sure that Nurkic will get traded too. So right there, and Anthony Simons has actually like developed over the past couple years, and Nazir Little's shown some promise. So there you go. You have like a nice young core. Look at that, guys. We just rebuilt the Blazers roster post Lillard era. But I'll say this,
If
and I think
only
I
they
speak.
would listen to the podcast. If only they would
Yeah,
just
yeah,
listen, because it's
exactly.
that simple. It really is.
It's seriously, it is. But I mean, it's kind of like I don't want to look bad by like shipping Dame out without his permission thing, which I get. But I think I speak for our Dame as well. Uh I do not want Damian Lillard on the Knicks. For you know what? I'll say this. Obviously, it'd be great to have
I'm
Damian Lillard on the
100%
Knicks.
with you.
It would be great to have him on the Knicks, but I can't believe this is happening. But like, if we get Damian Lillard, we're most likely gonna have to give up all our young guys, all our picks. And I'm sorry, Julius Randle and 31-year-old Damian Lillard is not gonna get us anywhere. We are not in the process of competing. You're already seeing it recently with how this season's going. We should stay away from that deal. Unless unless Lillard like begs them to be like, all right, take me to the Knicks, but don't like, Carmelo Anthony them like we did last time and just like take all their, draft capital and young players. No, I mean, we're probably going to have to give up RJ Barrett, which I am vehemently against. And I know Damian is too, our Damian. So I do not want that happening. I'm sorry. It's just, yeah, it'd be really cool to have Damian Lillard on the Knicks. I mean, who wouldn't want him, especially in the Garden? It'd be great. But it's just, the timing of it is off. We're not contending anytime soon. Randall and Lillard does not get it done. I know I'm going off on a little tangent, but also, and I kind of like, I just don't want to give up our young core, and I know that's what's going to have to happen if we're going to get Damian Lillard. So for that reason, I'm out, to quote Shark Tank. Yeah, but I'm trying to think of like another dark horse team for Lillard to go to. I mean,
I will say this really fast. Just the only reason why I said like a random team like Toronto is because I thought of the Knicks at first, but then I was like, no, at this point it doesn't make sense for the Knicks to want to do this because they're not in that prime position. Honestly, to me, the Knicks assets, like what's supposed to be their top assets this season, it's not looking great. RJ Barrett has been a vast disappointment to this point, and Emmanuel quickly has taken a step back this season. He's shooting worse than what he did last season. Like,
I actually,
the time,
from
the
watching
time,
it, Quickly's the only one that's actually Quickly and Obi have actually been stepping up. The
right, but
numbers
in
don't
terms
look.
of shooting percentage, like I understand maybe the numbers can be skewed. Maybe he's just taking more shots, and like maybe I just have like that hasn't caught my eye. But just like I don't, you can't be a scorer in this game and have a lot of value if you're not shooting efficiently. Like that's just not something that works, especially if you're a defensive liability such as Quickly. So I think that, like, I'm just saying, like, the Knicks assets looked a lot better before the season started. That's all I'm going to say. And that's why I didn't bring the Knicks up, because I think now it would be harder for the Knicks to convince Portland, because I know what Dame is saying about like, hey, maybe they'll try to work out a trade with him. Da da da. No, at the end of the day, I don't care how much loyalty he's shown. Like they don't owe him anything. He's doing it to himself at this point. There's no reason to move him to where he wants. You get the best possible package in this case. Like, if this was LeBron, if this was AD, yes, okay, you acquiesce to your star. I'm sorry, Damian Lillard is not anywhere near that. Like, he does not deserve to have that kind of voice into where he's going. He just doesn't. He really doesn't.
Wow. All right. Heel Jurg right there with that statement.
Came at our boy, Chris. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm very, very bearish on what you just said right now. Dude taking shots at Emmanuel quickly. No, I mean, but also there's a report that the Knicks didn't touch base with the Blazers about Lillard last offseason when shit was getting kind of hot. So I think that says a lot about like what they think of the situation. Yeah, it's gonna be one of these contending. Like, I really feel like it has to be a team that's on the threshold of competing that also has decent young stars, and Boston is that. Philly is kind of that. I'm trying to think of any other team besides that.
The Nuggets are a good possibility as well.
Yeah, but they're never gonna do
Jamal
it.
Murray, but like they're not gonna send it within the same conference so close to each other.
But also, what the Nuggets don't. Well, Jurg's argument about like the Knicks pieces not being appealing. Well, what about the Nuggets now? MPJ is out probably for the season because his back is cooked. Jamal, they weren't going to trade Jamal Murray anyway. But like, who else besides Porter Jr. do they have now to offer? And now that he's kind of broken, like, what's appealing about that? I mean, before MPJ fleeced them for that contract, this might bite me in the ass in a few years. But like, that would have been an enticing offer. We all wanted them to go for it, but that's not going to happen now. So I'm looking at other teams now. What do we got?
Dallas with a KP deal, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, we know how I feel about KP, but I guess it's like a team to look out for. But can Luka and Damian Lillard coexist anyway? I feel like those
I don't know, but like I just feel like that's a deal Mark Cuban would go for. Like, I'm not saying that that's something I would do, but I just feel like Mark Cuban eventually is going to get frustrated. Luka's going to get frustrated. Luka is going to go to Mark Cuban and be like, yeah, do something. And then I think that's a move that would definitely entice both Luka and Mark Cuban.
Yeah, and those are the two that run the organization. I'm looking at other teams. The Wizards, but like if you like the Wizards have like a decent like young core and like players they could trade, but I don't know. I feel like that's like the Wizards with Wall and Beal kind of rehash. And I think Damian Lillard's obviously better than John Wall and in his prime, and John Wall in his prime. But it would be like you're what are we doing again? We're doing this again. He's like, it's not going to get you that far, in my opinion, especially if you're trading all your depth. Yeah, dude, Clippers have nothing to offer. Miami Heat, I feel like, is kind of like that's their team right now. Like, you didn't just go on Kyle Lowry and everyone for no reason. And plus, I don't like. They're probably not going to give up Tyler Hero in that deal.
Correct.
The Bucks don't have enough trade capital. Yeah, no other teams, man. And I'm sorry, Lakers are not going to trade for him. I don't care what you bum ass Lakers say. You don't have the pieces for it. Get the hell out of here. And Dame, I know it's not you, because like you're actually a realistic person that thinks about like you're not a Lakers fan, but I know like you're a LeBron guy, so you'd think about like trades that could help.
For anyone, bro.
I don't know. They could have traded for Lowry last year and traded THT and a few others, but they decided not to for some reason. So yeah, look, it's the Celtics, it's the Sixers. What else? There's nothing else. There's literally nothing else. And
these options are going to be very limited.
Yeah, so then the Blazers eat ass. So I don't know. It's not my team to die on. I don't care. I hope the Knicks are very logical about this. I hope they don't overreact to this slow start to the season. I'd rather just rebuild than go after Damian Lillard, to be honest. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So yeah, guys, any other basketball news we got to talk about? What do we have?
Steph Curry's record. If you want to just mention that.
Yeah, Steph Curry is 10 3-pointers away from surpassing Ray Allen for most 3-pointers of all time.
He was fiending to get it yesterday. He had like 10 3-point attempts in the first quarter. That was
this
awesome.
Sucks, bro, because I know he'll probably get 4 and then 5, and then the game where he should break it is in Madison Square Garden, which is gonna suck to see, man. Damn it, man. Well, I mean, yeah, there's not much to say about it. Steph Curry's the greatest shooter of all time. Warriors looking great. Well, speaking of the Warriors, guys, they're obviously 21-4. Clay's coming back. Wiseman hasn't scrimmaged yet. Jurg, does that concern you a little bit, by the way?
I have to say yes, because, like, going into the season, you figured he was going to miss time because he ended last season on injury. Now this year, but it just feels like you talk about a team with assets. Obviously, it wouldn't work with a Damian Lillard deal, but the Warriors, man, are so intriguing with the assets they have. Like, I know a lot of people are saying they should keep
Yes,
all their young
yes.
guys. I don't think they will. I think the Warriors are in a place, especially depending on how Clay looks when he comes back. Like, this is a team that could make a trade, like a real trade for like a wing guy. And with Wiggins playing well right now, with a couple of these young pieces, like this would almost be the perfect time after Clay comes back 5-10 games after that you make the trade and like get that next piece for this team to really just like make them like the team. um and him being out like that sucks because it depreciates the value of like teams looking at him, and it's like, oh, we could still make something out of him. So that's like the where the worry part comes from. And also just like, even if they did want to keep him, like let's say they trade other young pieces and picks and stuff and they keep him, like just this is not working out like right now. Like, and it sucks because I actually like Wiseman coming out. I think like he could be a good defensive center and stuff and have a little bit of an offensive game, but just like the kid can't develop if he's not on the court, and he just hasn't been on the court in his career. So like it sucks to see. And I am starting to get concerned because like big guys, like injuries aren't easy to come back from for taller players. Like that's just a fact. Look at the history of 7-footers in the game. So
Yeah. If I'm the Warriors, I'm putting all my chips. Well, and not all of them because he's like not. I mean, he's playing like one, but he's not an all-star. All-star. Going after Jonas Valanciunas from them, man. That man, I think, is tailor-made for the Warriors, and he is shooting like a career high from three. Oh man, I think he would be perfect for that team. Um, I think also, but yeah, I mean, I think like last season, I was like maybe they should go after like a Karl Anthony Towns if that situation were to blow up, which I still think could. But yeah, you're right, Jurg. They could keep him, and I don't want to. Yeah, he's a big man, so you don't want to rush him in any possible way. But the main event here is Klay Thompson, and I think he's coming back soon. I don't necessarily know if he'll make it for Christmas, which I would have loved that. Like Suns versus Warriors, and everyone's kind of fully healthy, and it would be Clay's game back, so like you can't get an official glimpse of like what could possibly be down the road. But man, and I'm assuming Devin Booker will be back by Christmas. Warriors and Suns for now looks like the Western Conference Finals matchup to look out for going forward. Of course, things could change. Lakers will get healthier. The Lakers will figure it out, and the Nuggets will get healthier, I think. And Jazz are the Jazz. I'm not even gonna bring them up. So yeah, I mean, a lot of things are gonna occur soon. Yeah, and I think going forward. Oh, I think the December 15th, I think, is when guys who signed during the offseason could actually get traded. And I think we're not close to it, but we're itching towards the trade deadline. So maybe things will. And now because of the moratorium, I don't know the word, but because like December 15th is coming, I think we might be able to see more trades. So that'll be dope. Some movement to look forward to. NBA is always hot during the NBA trade deadline. Anything else when you talk about NBA wise, fellas?
well, I'll just say like we say that it's hot and we hope it's hot, but like every single time we're like, yo, this could be the biggest trade deadline in the last 5 years, and just like
And nothing.
maybe two deals happen, and like everything else is just like a random role player. Like George Hill is going to get traded for like the 12th trade deadline in a row. Like it just that's how it goes. But like I will say this: Golden State legitimately, like everyone was saying, the dynasty was dead. Like they could win the chip again this year, legitimately. Like that team. That team's dangerous right now, and like they, unlike every other team, like because you said it before, Chris, the Clippers can't do anything, the Lakers can't do anything. Like the Nuggets, any assets that they would have had are injured. Now they have to wait for Jamal Murray to come back. Like the
Yeah.
Warriors are in position where they can make the move that just puts it far and away. The West belongs to them, and that's a like. I'm just saying, like I'm always a fan of teams going for it. Like if you're Golden State, like if that trade comes for you, do it. Like I don't care if Wiggins is playing better. I don't care if Moses Moody or Jonathan Kuminga or even when Wiseman comes back. If you get a legitimate stud to put next to the guys on this team, you make that trade. Like no ifs, no ands, no buts. We're going for championships out here, straight up.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And the only team I think that could rival with them is Phoenix, bro. Phoenix looks really good, and this is coming back to bite me in the ass because I think after the 1-3 start, I was like, do we smell fraud? And then they just win like 18 in a row, man. And so
Yeah,
just like eat ass, Chris.
you try to get a little bit too far ahead of it, Chris.
Too far. I mean, it was a 1-3 start. I was like, oh, this is kind of sus. But whatever. They sold me. All right. I think that's about it. I mean, the Pacers are leaning towards a rebuild, but I don't know. Do we want to talk about the Pacers right now? Shit. I mean,
I'll
maybe
say
if Miles
this.
Turner gets traded in the next week, we'll
Mhm.
talk about them more.
I will say this. I think Indiana, kind of like with Portland, because you essentially
The
did
Portland
Portland's
of the
trade
East,
before.
yeah.
They're the Portland of the East. They have the pieces where if they want to rebuild, they can. And I think the only decision would be: do you keep Sabonis or like
Hmm.
try to get good again within 2 to 3 years, or do you just trade him? Me personally, like you could get so much value for him. I think you could trade him. Hint, hint, Golden State. But like,
Either one of them could go to Golden State. Sabonis or Turner would be perfect fits over there.
Yo,
yeah,
man.
honestly, like
I
you
hope it
have
doesn't happen because I'm
right.
sick and
You
tired of them.
you
Sick and
have
tired of
you have
stuff.
Brogdon, you have Levert, and you have Sabonis and Turner. That's four guys who could get you key assets. And honestly, bro, straight up, you could get a first round pick minimum for all four of those guys. Like, and Sabonis is probably multiple firsts. Brogdon, a first and a player. Like,
Yeah.
you can get
Brogdon can't get
assets
traded though, I
back.
think. This
Really?
season. I don't think he can get
Is it
traded because he re-signed during the season, I
really?
believe.
I could have sworn because it was a sign and trade that how they got him from a couple of years ago. Like I would have thought he'd be eligible to be traded, but I mean whatever. Even still, like Levert, Sabonis, and Turner, like just pull the trigger. I know I know with small market teams it's a little bit different because like they don't want to rebuild because they don't want to lose the fans, but Indiana fans, man, like they've been through everything with that team. Like they'll stick with it. Like just go through the rebuild, get some young assets in there. Like just restock the cupboards there because like this Indiana team, like they're not winning anything in the East. Like they might win a game at most in the first round. And at this point, with some of these draft classes coming up and the talent that's in these high
Oh,
schoolers nowadays, like just blow it up. Honestly, just blow it up.
yeah. Even though their main piece, Chris Duarte, is like 24, 25 years old. Uh, yeah, I don't know. They got decisions to make, and I think Turner's already checked out, but who knows? So maybe she'll get hot during the following week. Yeah. So I think that's it for basketball. Let's move on over to football, guys. We're almost there. We're almost at the finish line. We're week 14. This is recording on Thursday. And then yeah, we'll be releasing on Friday. So I think the Thursday night football game is the Saints versus the Vikings. Vikings coming off a terrible loss to the Jurg's favorite team, the Detroit Lions. They get their first win. Guys, we're almost there. We're almost to the playoffs. And NFL playoffs are always great. So there are a lot of things to be. Let's look at the standings real quick, all right? We'll go to the AFC first, all right? AFC East, the Patriots. Yo, we talk about the Golden State Warriors dynasty being back, returning. The Patriots dynasty. I mean, I don't want to call them a dynasty. Obviously, I'm just just for yapping it up. But they're 9-4 now. They seem to be back. I think the Mac Jones hype may be a little overboard because I think it's more Belichick than it is him. But he's doing his job, so I don't want to shit on Mac Jones because the player does need to execute, and he's been executing really well. So the Patriots are 9-4. I honestly think they're going to get the first seed of the AFC East. Now I don't know if they're going to get I don't know if they're going to be like first in the AFC in total where they get the bye, but I think the way they've been playing, the momentum's so on their side. I think they take the AFC East, which leads us to the Buffalo Bills dropping to second place in the AFC East. However, I think they're seventh in the overall standings, which means they're flirting with. I mean, they're playing the Buccaneers this Sunday, guys. And look, spoiler, we don't have a lot of confidence in that, but guys, the Buffalo Bills seem to be like the force to reckon with in the AFC. And now they have dropped exponentially, and now there's worry if they're gonna make the playoffs, like if they're gonna be in the AFC wildcard. Now I think we all can agree that we ultimately think they will be in the AFC playoffs, but do they concern you going forward? Are they a team to look out for to be like, well, I'm kind of they're in the red zone, no pun intended. Dame, let me start off with you. Are you worried about the Buffalo Bills going forward as we reach playoff atmosphere?
I'm not worried about them because I don't care about them. But as for if I
Okay.
was a Buffalo Bills fan, I would be worried because from the start of the season, I have been saying that I thought there would be a regression in Josh Allen and the Bills. I don't think they would have been as good as they were last year, and so far I've been proven right. Every single game, it's up and down with Josh Allen. You just don't know what you're getting. He's at the bottom half of the league in completion percentage. You just don't know what he's getting. He's very erratic, very inaccurate. So I don't know if I could trust him if I was a Bills fan. Moving forward, obviously, you see games like the Jags where he gets absolutely dominated, but then you see other games where he looks like he's the MVP candidate he was last year. And but the main concern for that team is that defense. Obviously, it's looked great at times, but also like you see against the Patriots this week, they got absolutely demolished in the run game, and like Patriots laid through the ball 3 times, and you still couldn't stop the run. Like I don't know how that's even possible. Like if you just have to put all your guys in the box and literally stop the run. There's only 5-6 guys that are blocking the offensive line. You still can't get through to make the stop. Doesn't make much sense to me. So me personally, I'm not worried because I'm not a fan of theirs and I don't like them. But if I was a Bills fan, I'd definitely be worried.
Yeah, just man, how everything changes within less than a season, and how the Buffalo Bills were the odds-on heavyweight favorite to win the AFC East this year, to run this division for the next 5 to 10 seasons, and Bill Belichick just takes it back from them. God, it must suck to be a Buffalo sports fan. Irregardless, yeah, no, like to Dame's point, just everything has gone south for Buffalo. Like the offense has been erratic. They have no running game aside from when Josh Allen decides to run. It's funny, we always talk about Lamar Jackson being the running back, and yet Josh Allen has to do it more, it feels like. And Lamar's better at it, by the way. So, that being said, yeah, just it's been total regression from this team. Stephon Diggs doesn't feel like the same receiver it was last season. Josh Allen doesn't look like an MVP. The running game is even worse, which I didn't think it was possible. And the defense, man, this defense, like we pointed out, I will always say this, going back to last season, we pointed out on this show that the weakness was the running game. And what has been happening to this team? Jonathan Taylor smokes them. The Patriots only passed the ball like 4 times and they beat them. Like it's getting to a point now where it's like the Bills, like, yeah, I like you said, Chris, they're the 7th seed right now, so they have the third and final wild card spot. But do we have any faith in this team to actually do something in the playoffs now? Like they don't even feel like a dangerous 7th seed. Like remember when Kansas City was struggling? We were like, oh, if they make it as a wild card team, though, you'd be scared. I wouldn't be scared of this Buffalo team. I wouldn't. Like there's nothing that makes you fear them anymore. They're just not that team this season. And this what what game do they get to try to recover, bro? After they lose the lead in the division fully to Bill Belichick, who are they going to face that could make them fall behind even more? Tom Brady.
Zach Wilson.
That's just cruel and unusual punishment right there for the Bills and their fan base at the end of the day. So, yeah, like I still think Buffalo is too good. Like I don't think they'll miss the playoffs, but if they do, heads are going to roll there because that's just bad. Like that. No, seriously, like that is not good. You walk into the season with the expectations that they did,
Oof.
and
Oof.
this happens. Like this is going to be the Jacksonville 2.0. Lose the AFC Championship game and then fall out of the playoffs the next year. Like that's not good.
I was gonna say something, but I forgot. I think Colin Cowherd brought this up in his little podcast, and I thought he brought up a magnificent point. I think they were too focused on beating the Chiefs. They were too focused on beating the Chiefs, whereas you're trying to, like, I mean, obviously you think Chiefs are gonna be like the team to beat, in the AFC going forward. But of course, when you have a Bill Belichick in your division, you can't overlook that. And you also have like the AFC is just like there are these other teams, man. Like it's not just the Chiefs. Like this, like I think this season showed that there's much more. There are way more rivals to like worry about other than the Chiefs. Like the Chargers look really good now. The Ravens are the Ravens. The Bengals look really good now. The Titans, I think pre-injury, they're more to worry about, but they're still 8-4. The Colts are picking it back up. I mean, yeah, I think the Bills are in trouble, man, because like if it's like there are other teams to worry about, and especially like the number one team that they should worry about after the Chiefs is in the division. So yeah, I think a lot of shit. There's a lot of shit that is gonna occur that is going to say a lot about the Bills going forward. But yeah, I think the pressure's on them. The pressure is definitely on them. Okay, so ever since the last time we talked about the Chiefs, they've won 5 in a row since. 5 or 4. They're 8-4 right now. I think they play the Raiders next. Yeah, so I think they're not back because they haven't looked like their normal selves from like last season, but their defense has picked up exponentially. Their Offense needs to obviously pick up because that's where the alarms are sounding for some people. But I do think with Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, Tyreek Hill, I do think if you have all those three, there's it'll figure itself out eventually. And I think the best time to do it is when you're towards the playoffs, because I do think momentum is everything, especially when you're in the NFL playoffs. And asked the Buccaneers that last season. So I think they'll figure it out. Mahomes looks like he's adjusting. I think he's not trying to beam it for like 60 yards. I think he's trying to go like the 3-yard pass, kind of go the Tom Brady route first. And then, and I think it's working out. They're winning games with their defense. Now they just have to kind of figure it out how to balance both the offense and defense. But I think they'll be fine. The Chargers look really good. They're 7-5. I think they'll make the wild card spot. Colts and Titans, I do think there's a possibility the Colts supersede the Titans in that, and they get the first spot in the AFC South, which I know Jurg will be really hyped about. And then, I mean, this is the one division I wanted to talk about the most, and of course, you guys could add your own comments about any other division in the AFC that you want to talk about. The AFC North, we got the Ravens 8-4, Bengals 7-5, Steelers 6-5-1, and then the Browns 6-6. Most pressure, the team facing the most pressure, I would say, is the Cleveland Browns, for a bunch of reasons, but also Baker Mayfield, who has been under such scrutiny, and it's because of his play. Even though he has been injured, it's because of his play, but it's also because of his comments that he makes off the field towards the media, and this is also a contract year for him. So, fellas, I ask you, Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, and Browns. I think this one is the most crowded. I mean, I guess you could make the argument with the AFC West, but I do think the Chiefs, that's kind of the Chiefs to win. I do think the Ravens look a little bit sus, and I don't trust the Bengals. But yeah, what do we think about the AFC North, guys? Do we see the Browns picking it up? Do we see the Ravens falling back? Do we see the Bengals holding still enough for them to make a playoff appearance, which in my opinion would be huge? What do we think about the AFC North? Jurg, let me start off with you.
I'm disappointed in the Cleveland Browns because they are technically fourth in this division and not Pittsburgh. And,
Yeah.
I'm not happy about that. No, in all seriousness, it's week by week with this division, man. A couple weeks it looked like the Bengals were going to shock us all. Then it's like, oh, is Pittsburgh going to make a surprise run? Then it's like, okay, the Browns are back, and they just got to settle things. And now it's the Ravens, and now we just don't know what to expect in this division anymore, man. It's the craziest thing in the world. I will say I do hope the Steelers go on like a 5-game losing streak here, because to end the season, I don't think this is the schedule like in exact order, but their last 5 games are the Vikings, the Titans, the Chiefs, the Browns, and the Ravens. For the first time this season, I'm going to be cheering for the Tennessee Titans because I want the Titans to beat the Steelers. Yeah, that's how much my hate harbors for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I want them to lose to everyone, even Tennessee. So I think Pittsburgh will finish last at the end of the day. At this point, I believe more in the Bengals than the Browns. I think Baker Mayfield has been just hurt the entire season, and it's just looked really bad. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are the center focus of that offense, but still, like, they need something. And I just think that defense has been dinged up way too many times this season. Like, even, I don't know how close to getting fully healthy they are, but it's not looking great. So I think it's ultimately down between the Bengals and the Ravens. And I just picked the Ravens there. Like, I think Joe Burrow's been great, but at the end of the day, I have a little more faith in Lamar Jackson than most. And I think the Ravens are going to squeak out with the division. I just think, man, I don't think the Bengals are ready for that this season. I just think they're a year away. But, like, that being said, though, like, they're following the track perfectly. Like, if they make the playoffs this season, they're looking golden for future seasons, because I think the Browns are going to have a question at quarterback. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have questions at quarterback, and to be one of the 2 teams that have that position set for the future in the division, it's really nice. So if I have to pick someone, like, if I have to give my final order, I would say Ravens, Bengals playoff spot, Browns, and then Pittsburgh last. And let's be real here, though, boys. The best news this week was that this is likely Big Ben's last season as a Steeler.
Oh,
hallelujah!
Beautiful.
My God, I saw that. I was blissful. I stopped being tired. I walked to work with a spring in my step.
I need Aaron Rodgers there at Denver. But as to my thoughts on that division, I just can't trust anyone in that division, if I'm going to be completely honest. Like, you could really go any way and make an argument for any of those 4 teams. But I'm gonna go with the Ravens just because they are the top team right now, and I just think they have the best quarterback in the division. Obviously, they've struggled the last few weeks because teams have been blitzing them a lot more, and Lamar Jackson's pass rating is like a 9 or something like that against the blitz. So I don't think this is like a Chiefs thing where it's like they figured out the two safety over the top, kind of slow down the offense. I don't know if that's going to be the case with the Ravens offense, but I'm just gonna go with them because they do have the quarterback I trust the most. Obviously, I don't trust Baker. I'm not even gonna get into Big Ben. And Joe Burrow, like he has his games here where he shows me a lot, and then he doesn't. And then like I just don't know how much I could trust a young guy like that. So I'm gonna go with the guy who's won an MVP before and has played in multiple playoff games, even though he obviously hasn't gone that far with it. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens based solely off being the best quarterback and having the most experience.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of agree with you guys. For the reasons you just said, I'm not going to repeat them. Yeah, and do you guys have any other final comments about the AFC West or the AFC South?
Chiefs are coming out.
I agree.
Kings back.
Yep.
Yeah,
Jurg?
the Money Boy Mahomes is back. The Chiefs are back. Y'all thought they were dead. Not you boys specifically, but like just people. Y'all thought they were dead. Stooges. And the AFC South. Yeah, I guess the Titans are gonna win it. Who cares? I hope they lose in the first round. That's about it.
I don't think any team wants to see the Colts, to be honest.
Yeah,
in the
that's what I was
playoffs.
about to say. Like, I think the Colts are extremely sneaky,
Yep.
dangerous team when it comes to the playoffs. They're literally built to steal a playoff game here or there. Do I think they're gonna go all the way and go to Super Bowl? No, I don't think they have the quarterback to do that. But their running game and offensive line is elite, if not the best in the league, and their defense is arguably the best in the league as well. And they get turnovers as well to give their offense the ball more. So I would be scared to play the Colts if I was any team. Literally, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Patriots, any team I'd be scared to play the Colts if it came down to the playoffs.
Yep, I agree. Let's move on over to the NFC. Now, guys, NFC East, I think we all know that the Cowboys are, coming out of the division, even though Washington's flirting. But I can't see Washington, and they've also kind of been devastated with injuries, so I can't see them kind of surprising everyone coming out of the NFC East. I think the wild card spots are interesting when it comes to the NFC playoff picture. I think obviously we've got the Rams as the number one wild card team because the Cardinals are just so good. And then I think after that, we have the 49ers who have been waking up lately. And then, it was going to, and then I think we have a 4-way tie for like no, wait, what am I saying? Then you have the Washington football team as like the final spot. It's kind of weird because like I'm not a fan of Kirk Cousins and I don't give a fuck about the Vikings, but I kind of did want to see them in the playoffs just because like I love Justin Jefferson and I love Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook, and I just feel like they have enough offensive firepower to make a modicum of noise if they were to make the playoffs. And he just likes seeing stars in the playoffs, And I do want Justin Jefferson to eventually show up in the playoffs because I feel like that'd be really fun. But yeah, I think it's the first 5 of the NFC playoff picture that matter. So it's I'm in no order. I'm just going by the division here: Cowboys, Cardinals, Packers, Bucks, and then the Rams. So I'm going to ask you guys 2 questions, and then we'll close it off. Are we concerned, especially after the moves they made, about the Rams? Because they made that move for Von Miller. They signed OBJ. The OBJ move was a little meh because we were just like, all right, I don't know about the fit. But Matt Stafford seems to have fallen off a cliff. Are we concerned about them, especially after all the moves they made? And second, to close it off, who do you guys see being the final 2? So far. We'll get to our NFC. We'll get to our playoff predictions in a few weeks. But so far, which 2 teams do you see coming out the NFC? Dame, let me start with you, buddy.
NFC, I'm gonna go with the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
The last few years, they've kind of been that top team as well, but they just haven't got it done. A lot of people, including myself, thought last year was going to be the year, but they just ran into the Bucks, and they could run into the Bucks again. But hopefully, they avoid them, or if they do get them, it'll be in Lambeau again, and Aaron Rodgers and that defense especially will get it done. I do think Aaron Rodgers is basically the same quarterback he was last year in his MVP season, just not putting up the exact numbers, but he's literally winning ball games over and over in big games that they're not expected to win. And that defense, on the other hand, I think is a lot better than it was last year. Like, they are actually winning them games, if anything. Like, they kept the Chiefs to like under 20 points, I believe. There was other games where they play extremely well, and honestly, they're carrying the team at most parts. And Aaron Rodgers is game managing, but when it comes to the playoffs and Aaron Rodgers has to make that big throw because it's that time of the game, I think he's going to get it done, and I just trust him over all these other teams and their quarterbacks. Obviously, it's Tom Brady. You kind of can't really go against him, but you've seen weeks here and there where he just hasn't been right, and that team just hasn't been right. They've been hit with a lot of injuries as well, so I think that's going to hurt them a bit. So at the end of the day, I think the Packers right now are the healthiest, and I trust their quarterback the most out of every quarterback in that conference.
Mm-hmm. And are you concerned about the Rams team?
A little bit, I guess, but I think at the end of the day, they will get it together. I think a lot of it has to do with bringing in OBJ. Like, whether you want to say it or not, he is a distraction. But I do think the Rams and Sean McVay in that environment will get him right and get him together and help him learn that offense. Because once he's comfortable on the offense, I think everything is going to click. The offense is going to click. He's going to click. He's not going to care if he doesn't get the touches because he'll see that even when he's not getting the ball, he's diverting the defense and taking the attention off other receivers that are getting open and scoring. So at the end of the day, I do think they'll get it together. I do think it'll be the Rams and Packers in the conference championship, but at the end of the day, like I said, I think Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are going to overcome that and go to the Super Bowl.
Okay. Jurg?
So in terms of the Rams, like, I'm concerned if they were to face Arizona again, which is funny because they face Arizona this week. Like, I need to see them have a good game against the Cardinals because the Cardinals smacked them last time. So there's that. I think the Packers can beat them. And Tampa, kind of like Dame said, it's all about, health, because at this point in the season, it's a war of attrition. Who's the healthiest at this point? And if Tampa Bay is dinged up, like, I don't know, man. Like, it's rough to say, but it's also Tom Brady, and I think I learned my lesson last season with doubting Tom Brady one too many times, or in my case, two too many times. So in terms of the Rams, like, I'm sort of worried, like, when they go up against the contenders, but I still think they're legitimate team. If I had to order it, like, they probably would be like my third or fourth team in the NFC. Kind of like with Dame right now, the Packers are my number one. They have to be, like, this is their last dance, quote unquote. If Rodgers leaves, which he probably will, like, they need to win the chip. So the Packers are my team. Like, if I had to pick a number one, I'd go with them. My number two, I'll just go with Brady for now. Like, I don't have a choice. The Buccaneers, like, this team just finds a way, and if they can get it together for the playoffs, kind of like they did last year, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be like straight aces. So I would say Green Bay, Tampa Bay rematch. And, I think I'm pretty sure it was last season too, but I think, being in Lambeau Field for a second year in a row, I think it'll be good for the Packers. I think it'll be nice for them to have the momentum, have, the cold on their side. I just think for Green Bay, like, this is the year. I'm not saying it's magical or anything, but I'm saying, like, this is the time where they need to perform, and I think they'll likely be able to. So I have the Packers and the Bucks as my top two teams, and the Rams, slight concern, but nothing distressful yet. Check back in a week in case the Cardinals destroy them again.
You got it, boss. Yeah, I do hope the Cardinals do make noise. Like, I like the Cardinals, and they're really fun to watch. So I would not mind a Packers Cardinals NFC title match. Yeah, I think that'd be good for everyone. Kyler Murray playing the way he is with those weapons against Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. Yeah, that'd be super cool to watch. And we don't get Brady in the final, which would be great. All right. So, yeah, I think that'll do it for this week, gentlemen. Beautiful job as always. Jurg, where can they find us on the socials?
Oh, you guys already know. Follow us at the @SomeWhatSports page on Instagram, where you can always check in on our weekly NFL predictions. I won again last week. I think that's 3 weeks in a row, I want to say, that I've won it.
All right.
Yeah, me. I'm not flexing. I'm just, like, genuinely
No, you're the
curious.
Patriots.
He's
You're the
flexing.
Patriots.
He's flexing.
Flex is crazy.
I think we need. I just personally, I think we want an update because, of course, there are high stakes attached here. Chris and Dame got to find a way to send me a pizza up here in Connecticut in case I actually win this. But no, in all seriousness, follow us at SomeWhatSports. We will be, putting out a little bit more soon. It's just winter time is kind of the slow times right now, boys. But don't worry, we'll be back. We'll be roaring. We'll get a little bit more interactive and all that. And of course, you're listening to us right now. This is the best podcast going around, bar none, in the sports media landscape. Share with everyone. We already said You got to purchase a Christmas gift. This is the free Christmas gift you give to everyone. Give them the best gift they can ask for if they're a sports fan, and that is listening to this outstanding show. Ain't nothing better.
Beautifully said as always, Jurg. Beautifully said. All right, to all of our listeners listening, if you made it this far, thank you so much. Jurg, Dame, once again, thank you for your expert analysis. And until next time, peace.